Hey, what's going on? Today I'm going to go over some of the basics for supersets and some of the applications. So what is a superset? A superset is when you perform two exercises back to back with minimal rest in between each exercise. And my definition of a circuit would be when you do three or more exercises in that kind of back-to-back fashion. So when would you use supersets? Well, first, before we answer that question, you have to look at what it is that you're training for. Are you trying to get stronger? You're trying to get bigger? You're trying to have more endurance? It's important to know what it is you're actually working towards first before looking at these factors. And then also another thing is, how much time do you have? Do you have just 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Do you have a full hour? How frequently are you able to work out? So these are all kind of things that it determines how much volume you're able to get in throughout the week. And that will basically, supersets and circuits can be a way to increase the amount of work you do in a short amount of time. So let's start with the first example. So let's say you're doing a full body workout and you're starting off with pull-ups followed by some walking lunges. So let's say you're able to do 8 pull-ups followed up with 20 walking lunges. So this would be more of a focus towards strength with a little bit of hypertrophy at the same time, because the volume is fairly high, but it's low enough that you could have a pretty good intensity, provided that those 8 pull-ups are decently challenging for you. So this example, we're using completely different muscles. So that's because your pull-ups are using your lats, a little bit of biceps, forearms, and then you're going to your walking lunges and you're using your quads and your glutes a little bit. So they're not going to, well, I guess it depends on how strong your forearms are. This could impede a little bit, depending on how heavy you are able to hold the dumbbells for your lunges. Your forearms might be a limiting factor. But anyways, overall, the primary movers are completely different muscle groups. They're not going to interfere with each other, so you can have a pretty high intensity. So that's more of a strength kind of deal. As a general rule of thumb, I would say when your overall goal is to get stronger and you're going to use a superset, they should be different muscle groups. There are caveats to this, of course, but we'll get to that. So now let's say your objective is to just get bigger, build some hypertrophy. Then in that case, it makes more sense to do similar muscle groups. This way, you can really tax the muscles and push it a little bit farther than you would with just doing the one exercise. So let's say, for example, you're doing dumbbell bench presses. You're going to start with, you're able to do, let's say you do 15 reps with this bench press at a certain weight, and then right away you drop down and do 10 push-ups. That could be an example of really taxing your chest there, and beneficial for getting a little more mass on your frame. So I'm not a huge fan of doing just hypertrophy work. So the type of workout that method that I would kind of go more towards when you're doing a hypertrophy superset would be to have the first exercise be a little more strength. It's like you could get enough reps, you're in that hypertrophy range, but have it on the lower side, so you're still aiming to be a little bit stronger. And then your secondary exercise could be higher volume. So let's say, for example, you're doing weighted pull-ups. So let's say you're able to do 5 reps with a 45-pound weight, and then right away you go into a lat pull-down with a moderate intensity, so you're able to do 15 reps there. So this way now you're able to have more of the strength, but then you also get a lot of the volume in order to help build the muscle in a pretty short amount of time. Instead of needing to do, let's say, 5 or 6 sets of the pull-ups in order to get enough volume to potentially, build some strength, to build the muscle, perhaps you could just get away with 3 sets now with doing this kind of work there, so it's less time. So once again, that's why it matters to figure out what it is that you're working, what you're trying to do, and how much time do you have. Those are 2 important factors. In general, I would say I'm more of a fan of higher volume and like supersets and circuits for your smaller, more accessory muscles, and then sticking with the lower volume. This is my kind of philosophy. It depends on what works for you, but then sticking with the lower volume, more intensity for the more compound movements. Because once again, strength to me is very important that everybody, no matter if you're getting bigger, I still think it's useful to have strength. You don't all just be all show and no go, right? Having some functional strength and ability is important. I do use quite a bit of circuits and supersets in my own training as well as for my clients, partly because of the amount of time. Like, it's useful to get more work in the amount of time that I have, but as well, it also helps get your heart rate a little more elevated depending on how much other cardio you do during the week. And once again, it all depends on your goals and what we're working towards. But general rule of thumb, a lot of general population clients are looking to lose a little bit of weight, maybe gain some muscle. So that's one way to kind of attack two burns a little bit with one stone, just kind of get more energy expended to an extent. And so when you are building your workouts, though, you got to be mindful, especially if you're going towards more strength, that you're mindful of the order and making sure that you can keep a high level of effort when you're performing your exercises. You don't want to have subpar effort and then have your form break down and stuff like that, and then just not going to be getting stronger. So some of my more preferred, some of my favorite kind of pairings of supersets, that's just more the common ones rather. Let's say you have like a push-up and iso hold YWT. So you get your chest and then right away your upper back to kind of get that balance there. A couple more, let's say you're like a goblet squat and then a shoulder press. A pull-up followed by a band pull apart. Those are some of the more common supersets I can think of off the top of my head. But again, it's all variation of what the whole workout looks like, how much time we have, what else they're doing. So there's many different factors, but hopefully these kind of basics give an idea for building supersets and circuits into your own workouts. Anyways, wish you all the best. Take care.